you guys are having a great week. If you are new to the channel, my name is MJH Motivates, and the purpose of this channel is to create different lessons, biblical lessons that's geared towards reaching the younger crowds, the youth, young adults, and of course, my fellow peers and those older as well, because the word is we can make it relevant to all age groups. So without further ado, let's get into this lesson. Alright, so this new miniseries is called Worth It. And I was just like thinking, what should this miniseries be called? I was just like, scrambling around, looking up different resources of like what I'm talking about. Because sometimes it's hard. It's hard. And then I was thinking, I was at church and we was just talking about different cameras, like disposable cameras. And I was like, what? And I was like, man, that is interesting. And I was just talking to the children. I was like, oh man, I had disposable cameras when I was in 8th grade. We didn't have selfies. We didn't have the phones like that. My first phone was a flip phone. And what happened with my flip phone is funny you asked. Thank you for asking that question. It was stolen when I was a freshman in high school, and he was calling around, trying to figure out where it was. And then we found it when we was doing practice for shot puts and in that area at my high school, and we found it and it was cracking in half. And I think I still have that phone, but that was my first phone. I didn't have like no camera. I had Bejeweled. That was my game. We didn't have like the Wi-Fi like that with like all the games. But with the disposable cameras, I was taking all these pictures, and that was so cool. Like, you get the 60 pictures, and after that you can't take any more. But the problem was, I didn't know that you had a certain limited time to, develop your film. I thought it was gonna be there for forever, to be honest. I didn't know. Until somebody told me, it's like, hey, like, if you don't develop your film, it's gonna go away. And I was like, what? All these pictures from like Washington, D.C., like all the trips I took, they're gonna go away? I have a lot of cameras. And with this message, I called it Kodak moment, right? And with our, our cameras for all the little children, if they don't know, all the little children, growing up now with our cameras. Yes, it's also we capturing the moment, right? But if we allow ourselves not to develop the film, if we allow ourselves not to be developed by God, was it worth it? You know what I mean? Was it worth it? And that leads me to the passage from Matthew 25 when he talks about the talents and the master giving the servants talents to multiply, not to hold, but to multiply. And later in the chapter, we find this one servant that kind of harbored it. It was like, and it was in verse 24. It says, then the servant with the one bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant, if you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it. I can relate to this a lot. And in a sense where I knew where God was calling me. I knew God was calling me to reach the youth. But for years, I was like, nah, like, I'm good. I was hiding the talents, the gifts that God has given me because I was like, hey, like, I don't think you want me to go over there. I'm less than a hide. Like, when it's time, I'm gonna come back and, the stuff that I hid in the ground, I'm gonna take it back out. Right? But what I didn't know is that blessing, that favor, God is gonna still love me, but that timing might not always be there. It like I can be 50 years old, like, hey, it's time for me to reach the youth. And God is like, nah, like we're not there no more. Our ship has sailed. Like we're somewhere else, and now I'm trying to catch up to that. And it's not up to us to say, like the harvest is like, hey God, like I believe that you want us to do this. And God is like, no, I called you here. I will help cultivate it, but I'm calling you here so you can just, you can just hold this seed. You can sprinkle a little water on it and then you keep it moving. No, like God, you already planted the seed. We can't plant the seed. We can only push it forward to the next process, and the next process in the growing process of that seed. And the interest that God wants us to go, like whatever you're doing in your life, like God is calling you to that. And if you don't, if you don't step fully into who God is calling you to be, when you come face to face and God's saying, well done, my good and faithful servant, like what words do you want to hear? And for me now in my life, of course I'm trying to achieve in a lot of things, but now I can say like God's gonna say that over me. And it's not me trying to get accolades. No, like it's me like every day just talking to God, like this one-on-one time, like, hey God, how's it going? Like, God, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. And just really debriefing about my day, because I want to make sure that my relationship with him is strong. And then when that's strong, I'm more willing to step into what he's calling me to do, because I already seen him do it in the past. And if he did it in the past, he can do it again. And he can do it for your life as well. So I hope this message blesses you. Hey, don't be like that servant. Don't be like me. Develop your film. Develop your talents. Go where God is calling you to go. Hey, and have a blessed weekend. I'll see you next week at 7 on Friday night. Peace.